Let's punch it.
Pump your brakes, kid.
So our Calm Up series, we've been doing these videos now for the last 3 years now, Chris? 3 years?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they started in 2023.
And one of the we usually do by request, or sometimes we'll just do them based off how a player's doing, look and feel and what have you. But one player that comes to mind a lot, and it comes up between our Discord and just on social media, is Izaac Pacheco, who is in year 3 at West Michigan, and he's come up to I think, the lack of better, the Parker Meadows effect. And I say Parker Meadows because Parker Meadows was at West Michigan for quite a long time. Same thing with Vincil Perez. So those are recent examples of that. Pacheco, big difference. The only difference between Pacheco and Meadows really is just position. Both came out of both drafted out of high school, and Perez was an international draft signing. So, and this is where sometimes I think when it comes to minor league players, patience is a virtue, and we've talked about how prospects are like it's not linear. And so Pacheco, Chris, he's been on a good stretch of games.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that's going on right now is he's really producing, particularly over the last 5 games. That's what we have in this video right here is his last 5 games, over which he's 12 for 19 with hitting for a lot of power too, extra base power. And yeah, it is, it's the year 3 in the Midwest League, but he's still just 22, right? And we talk about that with Roberto Campos, is people feel like he's been around forever, and he's still just 21. And Pacheco is now the average age of a hitter in the Midwest League, and part of it is, he's been there forever, so now he's the average age, and part of it is he may be making some positive changes. So that's kind of what we want to look at with this video. So this is every pitch he's seen over the last 5 games, and you see that was just a sharp double to the right center gap. And honestly, kind of what we want to see from Pacheco. There's always going to be strikeouts and swing and miss in his game, but he's got tremendous power. His raw power is right up there with Briseño and Lorenzo and Bryce Rayner in the system. And so what you want to see from him is you want to see him when he swings. You want to see him staying in the zone, right? Not chasing too much. And you want to see him do damage when he does swing and keep the kind of in zone whiff to a reasonable rate, sort of like Tyrone Lorenzo, right? Where he's going to strike out, but if he's doing enough damage in the zone, then there's still value there. And so yeah, here we are. We're looking. We saw the first game was against the Lugnuts in West Michigan, but now they're at Fort Wayne, and you get a bit of a better, closer camera angle, and they also do some nice replays here. So you're going to get a good taster of what we've seen. And I don't know how that ball right there was not a home run. He absolutely demolished that, and it bounced off the wall for a triple.
I wonder if it's the weather, because it was a little wet out there.
It was definitely very wet and windy so far in Fort Wayne. They still have 2 games left to play there. So there's the replay of that. You get a replay from multiple views there. So I kind of put those all in there. But and here's where they mention us.
Tigers ML report on social media incredibly fast as well. I think they got Izaac Pacheco's RBI triple posted on social media before Pacheco even got to third base.
So anyway, yeah, that's just us patting ourselves on the back. But so, yeah, I mean, what I wanted to see from Pacheco, and it kind of when I was, we still had him on the very back end of our prospect list. I think he was 40th. And what has concerned me about him is that it's kind of a grooved swing, I thought. And there you see him chasing high fastballs, and that's the one thing you still see in this video is he will expand above the zone. He's doing a good job not chasing away for the most part, and he's not going after breaking balls below his hands, down and in for the most part. But velocity up is still an issue. But what we wanted to see was him, making contact with different shapes of pitches, right, and in different areas of the zone, not just kind of over the middle. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for in this video. And you see right there, that was a nice, a breaking ball that he ripped.
Putting his in too on that.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking for here, right? Like different shapes, different areas of the zone, solid contact. You saw him swing and miss at a fastball down the middle, and there's a kind of a slider under his hands, I think.
And his setup too. His setup is different too. Like he's been working. I know he talked to Emily Walden about his setup at the plate, and it's in some of the stuff we'll have to go back a little bit. But I know you can tell a little bit based off where his bat is and his positioning of his feet, which is one of the things. And I'm gonna pause the video real quick because this is something I was noticing with Jake Rogers. In the Tigers in the last couple of years, and I only bring this up because we're starting to see the run differential not only in Detroit, but in West Michigan and Erie. And you're starting to see the difference not only with the pitching, but the bats. And something that we've talked about before, that the Tigers have had a hard time with developing batters in terms of like within the organization. Like Kerry Carpenter, for example, the great Dr. Teachman. I say that because the guy's an asshole on Twitter. But he's a good hitting instructor. And then you have Jake Rogers, who got he worked on his swing outside the organization before he got called up to Detroit. But recently, he's been working on getting his footwork done, and where he's looking like his swing has changed. Same thing with Baez, who's been incredible, hitting over 300 out of the 9 spot this year. So the reason why I bring this up, Chris, is that I think we can. Because again, the Tigers do not allow us to talk to any of the coaches' staffs across the minor league affiliates. That's the rule they have, and that's fine. But we can conclude just based off some of the evidence and the offensive numbers too. West Michigan in April, for example, had the highest home run total they had outside. I think it was like 2022. I can't remember the exact. I was looking this up, and one of the highest total in terms of batting averages too across. It's not just the Tigers they're batting 262 as a team. Every minor league team is raking. And so there was some people who were like going, well, is it just because it's Hinch cheating or something like that? No, I think there's the philosophy with hitting has been going across the board here. And I think Pacheco's a prime example of that.
Yeah, I think, and our buddy Jake Bowes had mentioned that, why aren't the hitting coaches at the major league level getting more credit for what's been going on? And maybe they will. But I think you're right. I think there's an organizational philosophy, and you'll see here, Pacheco's facing a couple tough lefties in a row. But what you don't see him is chase away, which is always tough for left-handed hitters, right?
Right.
And so I think they've instituted something in the system where these guys are staying in the zone for the most part, and they're taking border pitches, and it's hard to know exactly what's going on there, but you see it just, you see it with guys in the big league level with like, Dylan Dingler, right, taking these close pitches, even though he's swinging at everything. And there you see Pacheco launching another. That was a breaking ball. And what's interesting, hey, can you back it up just a little bit, right, for this pitcher, Herman. So Pacheco swings and misses at the first pitch against Herman because he's expecting – Herman throws like 96, 97, 98.
Yeah.
And you'll see him again later in this. I think he is the final plate appearance against Pacheco. But you see Pacheco swings and misses right here because he gets a first pitch changeup. So he wasn't expecting that. But then you see him foul off the changeup right there. He got it again and fouled it off. That was a nice adjustment. And there's a bad breaking ball, and then he crushes another breaking ball down and in, right into the happy zone. So just kind of illustrate that a little bit. Like they're looking for all shapes, and they're being able to hit all of them. That's still, that was not a great pitch, but he didn't miss it, which is something that we want to see.
And the other thing too is about Pacheco is he's healthy. I mean, there's a lot of like similar to what we were seeing with Javi Baez at the big league level, where he's actually healthy, and that plays a big part. And he was a little banged up earlier this year too. And the reason why I've never, here's the thing, like until you get to double, we've talked about this numerous times. Until you get to double A, it doesn't, you want to see progress no matter what. The fact that if you're looking at his numbers too, and this is something that we were looking at, if you look at his stuff on Fangraphs, Chris, I mean, the biggest indication of change, and this is something we noticed, ironically enough, with Parker Meadows and Winsfield Perez, is how much more times they're getting the ball in the air. Mm-hmm. But that's when you start seeing things to change up a little bit. And right now, as it stands, he's at a 34% clip on getting the ball, fly balls, and his ground ball rate, though, comparatively speaking to what it was compared to Lakeland, for example, was at 48%. It's at 36%, but the line drive has improved slightly to 28%. So, but the other indication, Chris, and this is where I will go to you on this: pull side, in opposite field, bullseye he's hitting at 48% of the time.
Mhm.
Where does that stand for an indication of where he is as a hitter?
Well, I mean, I think he's always been kind of and we've seen him, hit home runs to center and to the opposite field as well. But I think, where his strength is pulling that ball from right center to the right field line as a hitter. When he's doing that, he's doing a lot of damage, and so I think he's maybe just more into his comfort zone doing that. And you saw, a couple at bats back, he crushed a home run to right center, and then he against a lefty had a sharp single to right center. So. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a key, what you want to see from him. But, Pacheco, I think, has always had a swing that is built for, putting the ball in the air and doing damage. And it's just nice to see him have so there's the home run right there. That was 110 off the bat.
Yeah.
Against a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. And, yeah, pretty fun little bat flip or bat toss afterward, you'll see. So it was... And it's just, I mean, when he connects, it's like we said, he's got a lot of power. And so here's a lefty, Gustin, and I put in, I think this guy will, he kind of will quick pitch you. He did there in the second pitch, and then he does it again later. Pacheco actually gets to see him twice, and he gets a hit the second. Well, he gets a hit here, but this is a real BABIP hit, right? Like,
This reminds me of Terry. He has a Terry Mohammed or Terry. Who's that Giants pitcher?
Mulholland?
Yeah, Mulholland. Thank you. Kind
So
of
there-
lined up to him.
There he tried to quick pitch him, and Pacheco was all over it and laced a single off lefty into right field. So that was nice to see. This guy, I think, gets him swinging because it's a 96-mile-an-hour fastball above the zone right there. Yeah. And as I was saying, I think that's still where the hole in his swing is that elevated velocity. So I don't know if he'll be able to close that up this year or ever. But if that's the only hole, that's you can work with that. If he's laying off the breaking balls below the zone, although there was one right there. So, there's still thing to work on here. And we talked right before this that he's got a 420 BABIP right now, which is elevated and unsustainable, generally speaking. But in the minors, if you hit the ball really hard, very frequently, like that right there, sharp single up the middle, then you're going to have a high BABIP because the defenders aren't nearly as good as the big leaguers, right? And here's a fun one, too. This is a guy with a really funky arm angle. And Pacheco waits on it, drives a double to the opposite field.
That was a good piece of hitting there, too, on the outside part of the plate, too.
Yeah, so we've seen some signs. It's just 5 games, and so, if we were going to do our pump it or punch it series, right, like, hey, pump the brakes or punch it, let's get this guy. I think if he does this for another 2 to 3 weeks, I think you can make a pretty good argument for pushing him up to Erie. Yeah. Because, as we said before, when we were talking, there's not anybody blocking him in Erie, right? Their third baseman this year are Trey Cruz and Danny Soretti and Carlos Mendoza, and there's some. We like Mendoza, we like Cruz a lot, and but they don't have to play third base.
Right. It's kind of right. It's a third baseman by committee right now in Erie.
Yeah, and so unlike people want to move Clark up or McGonigal up or whatever, they've only been in high A for fewer than 40, 50 games. Pacheco's been there for 225 or so, 230. Yeah. So if you feel like he's made real changes, he's definitely a guy I could see moving up to Erie. I just would say you want to see him perform like this for another couple of weeks.
Agreed. And I think that honestly, maybe till the end of June, really. I mean, there's no rush right now, especially because I know how, as it stands, I think it would benefit him to just stay there until the first half of the season's over, and then West Michigan secures a playoff spot because that's the way it's heading right now. You have McGonigal coming back soon. As one of the last things I wanted to talk about is his defense. Now, he's been playing from first base, and third base wise, he's got a good arm. I know that the West Michigan defense, we've talked about this off, between our text about their defense has been But Pacheco seems like the more sure-handed of them all, correct?
Yeah, third base. The odd thing is they had, I think it was that Lansing series where they just had this weird.
Always against Lansing, isn't it? It's just this weird Lugna effect or something. I'm not sure what's going on.
They had this weird defensive issues where they made like 6 or 7 errors in a handful of games, but they, I think, generally speaking, are the best defensive infield in the Midwest League. It was just like a really weird situation there. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a solid third baseman, has the tools to play there. Arm is plenty strong, and he can also play first base, and that's nice versatility to have. You play either corner there, and who knows, maybe one day if if they want to expand his versatility, maybe he can play a little corner outfield. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you'd continue developing mostly as a third baseman and get him some time at first base too, just to expand that versatility.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about this before. With first baseman, there's always that question about. Sometimes people will say, "Well, who's the next first baseman prospect?" Pacheco could be it at this point. I mean, as far as like just power hitting, the stereotypical power hitting. Man, I forgot how. Sorry, I was just looking at how hard Hawkins is throwing. But there is I think the case to be made that if Pacheco, especially with what's going on at third base right now, the Tigers have a lot of infield prospects to work with, and so definitely a lot to consider there. So this is for everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is for our Patreon folks, and then this will probably come out on our YouTube channel some point. So thank you for being a paid member of our Patreon. Go to tigersmlreport.com to check out all our articles. We're going to be updating our top 46 list just in time for Memorial Day weekend, as we're going to start re-ranking this. But if you're watching this 5 months in the future, well, you know who our number one prospect is. So I'll have to tell you who insert guy is at this point, but I'm sure you're excited about insert person prospect. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.